How to study a word. This podcast is a method of studying the Bible. No knowledge of Accordance Bible software is necessary, or of Greek or Hebrew. Word studies are one of the core techniques of Bible study. I'm not here speaking of a study of a modern word, which should be more properly called a topical study. Instead, a true word study is defining a single Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic word, or even a phrase, as it appears in a specific verse. In this podcast, we'll show how to do this in Accordance Bible software, though most of these steps are also possible on Accordance Mobile, our app for the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. Doing a word study is fairly straightforward if one follows 3 simple steps: identify, investigate, and evaluate. Identifying the word is the first step of a word study. That's because most people will start with a specific word and verse in mind, usually in their own language. That means that identifying the original language word behind that translation is the first real task. Then, it's usually a good idea to get a quick definition, just to make sure we've got the right word. Both of these tasks are relatively straightforward using Accordance. Here's how. First, we go to our verse in Accordance in any translation tagged with key numbers. Hover over the translation or click on it, and the original word and its key number will appear in the Instant Details pane. Pressing the Command key, Mac, or Control key, PC, while we do this will give us a quick definition. If the word's definition is too long to read in Instant Details, we can triple-click the word to open it in a new tab. If we have some knowledge of Hebrew or Greek, we can do the same sort of thing in a tagged original language text. In this case, we're not looking for a key number, but the lemma or dictionary form of the word. Instant Details will display the word's lemma and its parsing. That's really helpful if we can't remember enough Hebrew or Greek to parse the word on our own. Again, we can quickly view the word's definition or triple-click to open in a new tab. The next step in a word study is to investigate. Basically, this means acquiring more information about the word. There are 4 sub-steps in this process. Find every place the word appears, analyze its scope and frequency, see the different ways it's translated, and discover its range of meaning. Let's deal with them one by one. First, we need to find every place this word appears in the Bible. The easiest way to do this is to use a right-click and select either a key number search in a Bible translation or a lemma search in an original language Bible. Both searches should produce identical results. Accordance will open a new search tab, which displays the search results. We can then scroll to read each and every occurrence. There's no real good substitute for this step, as it gives us a good sense for the various ways in which the Bible's authors used the word. We can use this same tab to analyze the word's scope and frequency. Quick statistics appear just above the search results pane: the total number of verses in which the word is found, and the total number of times the word appears in the Bible. Just to the right of this second button is the Analytics button. It gives us access to a number of different ways to analyze our data in more detail. Here's 3 of them. The Hits graph will graph the word's appearance throughout the entire text. Remember, Hebrew words will only appear in the Old Testament, while Greek words only appear in the New. The table will list the number of hits in each book or chapter and the frequency of the word, while the concordance offers us a familiar way to review all the word's appearances in context, organizing the hits by English word. If we're searching a translation that's tagged with key numbers, we can also see the different ways the original word has been translated. Analysis will provide us a list which we can organize alphabetically or by frequency. The word pie chart is a graphical display of the same data, as is the word bar chart. The final sub-step under investigation is to discover the word's range of meaning. This requires an external resource, like an original language lexicon or a Hebrew or Greek word book. As we mentioned earlier, triple-clicking the word will open our default resource, which can be set in Preferences. Depending upon the lexicon we've chosen, this can be a key number lexicon, like Kohlenberger Mounts, or a Hebrew lexicon, like BDB. Note that a Greek word will open the equivalent Greek lexicon. In either case, clicking on this drop-down menu will allow us to read other definitions, provided we choose similar resources. If we want to read the word's definition in all of our lexicons, there's an easy shortcut. We can right-click and choose Research and then Lexicons. If we're working with a key number tag translation, we'll need to insert an extra step to search for the original language word. We right-click, then press the Option key, then choose Research and Hebrew or Greek lexicons. Pressing the Option key tells Accordance to search for the original word directly, rather than the key number. In either case, we can now read through the various articles. As we move our cursor over each citation, we can click More or Open to see additional information. The goal in this substep is to gather all the various definitions for the word, as well as note those specific definitions that are related to our target passage. So far, what we have been doing is simply gathering information. Step 3 is to evaluate it, and in the process, draw a conclusion about the word's meaning in context. This is a reflective process, which looks something like this. Sort all occurrences by proximity, and place most weight on the nearest hits. Limit the study to the time available, then define each occurrence in turn, and, of course, test and verify the conclusions. Sort all occurrences by proximity. You may have noticed in Step 2 that the larger lexicons and word books sort definitions both chronologically and by author. That's because neither all definitions nor all occurrences of the word are equally valuable. The rule of thumb is that the closer the occurrence is to the target verse, the more important it is. That's why the first step under evaluation is for us to sort the occurrences the same way, from furthest to nearest. We will then study them in the same order. Place the most weight on the nearest hits. While our study begins with a very broad scope, it's the occurrences nearest to our verse that are the most important. That's because they usually have the most in common with it. That's the reason we'll attach more and more importance or weight to each occurrence as we near our target verse. Limit the study to the time available. Doctoral dissertations have been written on a single word. Unless we're in that sort of situation, or we just have unlimited study time, we'll probably need to limit our study. That's especially true if the word appears frequently. Now's the time to do this, even if we need to limit our study to the word as used by this author, or even this particular book. A wider study is generally better, but we need to be realistic about what we can accomplish. If we have to limit our time, it makes sense to narrow our focus to the most important occurrences. Define each occurrence in turn. Ultimately, a word is defined by its context. How do we do this? Beginning with the hits furthest from our target verse, we read the word in the passage. As we do, we limit its possible meanings to those appropriate to its context. Basically, this means trying out the various meanings in our lexicons until we find the one that makes the most sense. Now, this is difficult at first, but it gets easier as we acquire some experience. As we go along, we'll begin building our own sense of how this word is generally used. Next, we need to see if the verse has any unusual factors. Is the passage a quote from a different author or text? Is the word part of a figure of speech? Or is it in an unusual kind of literature, like a song, a legal argument, or an apocalyptic vision? Any and all of these can affect a word's meaning. Now, the last verse we will do, of course, is the target verse, by which point we should have acquired enough skill to pinpoint the word's meaning with a good deal of accuracy. The last thing we do is to test and verify conclusions. The best way to do this is with a couple of good commentaries. This can be done very conveniently with Accordance 11's new info pane, as we can just click on each commentary for the verse and read it in turn. My first choice for a good commentary would be a technical commentary or two. You know the ones, where we have to sort of read around the Hebrew or Greek. The USB Translator's Handbooks are another good choice, as they not only define words, but often draw out the various nuances in the text. If money is tight, consider the NET Bible Notes, especially the ones labeled TR for Translator's Notes. So why don't we just start with these commentaries? Because then we wouldn't have the knowledge to judge whether the commentary was right or not, a particular concern when commentaries disagree, as they often do. Besides, there's nothing like making discoveries in the Bible for ourselves. Secondary resources, like commentaries, should always be used to check our decisions, not do our thinking for us. There's just no substitute for studying the Bible for ourselves. While a word study might seem a bit complicated at first, with a little practice you'll find yourself building skill rapidly. Soon, you won't even need to consult the outline we've worked through today, and you'll be able to draw upon your previous work whenever you study a new passage. In no time at all, you'll be teaching others how to do their own word studies. This has been Dr. J for Accordance Bible Software. Thank you for watching this episode of Lighting the Lamp.